Arrowhead Stadium, and the Chiefs hang on to win 16-14 over the Denver Broncos. Now, I know we got some callers that are already trying out the phone line. Don't worry, we'll get to you in our second segment as we did last week. Might have a player audio moment in the second segment, but for the most part, your reactions, your thoughts are going to be in the second segment of today's show. Now, we have been blessed this year that in every single close moment, every tight game, Kansas City's been on the winning side of it. But today just didn't have that feel. In fact, it had a lot of similarities to the Raiders game last year. Not with the pick six, not with the fumble inside your own 10-yard line, but the way the offense looked clunky, the way that Denver just kind of methodically gashed you. You would have chalked this one up and said, hey, it's just one of those games in the NFL. We forget so many times that this is the NFL. You're not supposed to win this many games in a row. And in fact, these late game situations, when you're up 1, up 2, up 3, maybe down 1, 2, or 3, most of the time it's like a coin flip. Sometimes it goes your way. Somebody makes a big play. Somebody makes a boneheaded play. And today, there were so many times it was Denver making the big play. Kansas City had the Broncos in the crosshairs with about 5 to 6 minutes to go. First and goal. They have to settle for 3. Harrison Butker and Dave Tope, for whatever reason, decided to do the short kick after booming it out of the end of the end zone every single kick today. That cost Kansas City. A big third down on that final drive. Bo Nix finds Cortland Sutton to extend the drive. Kansas City's out of timeouts. Those big plays were all happening for Denver. And it was the boneheaded mistakes for the first time in a long time that were happening for the Chiefs. It was Leo Chenal. Leo Chenal who blocked the kick. Absolutely unbelievable. Chaos, pandemonium, whatever you want to say about it, it might not define what this game really was. 16-14 doesn't sound sexy at all. It's not one of those games that you're going to want to go back and watch. It wasn't pretty. The Chiefs had 1 touchdown in this game, had to settle for a lot of field goals in the red zone. The defense had some bad plays, especially in pass coverage, mainly in the first half. Second half, they were really damn good. But on that final drive, a rookie quarterback was about to lead Denver down the field and put Kansas City in the loss column for the first time this year. And Bo Nix did nothing wrong on that final drive. Absolutely nothing wrong. He took care of the football. He found Cortland Sutton when he needed to most. And he set up his kicker to have the game-winning field goal. And by the way, this was not a typical Chiefs-Denver game. You go back to the last decade or so. A lot of these games haven't really mattered for Denver other than spoiling Kansas City's season, making Chiefs fans have a bad Sunday. Today really mattered. If Denver made that field goal, they're 6-4 and Kansas City's 8-1. And right now the Broncos would have the head-to-head tiebreaker. And you think about Buffalo next week, which very well may decide the number 1 seed in the AFC. That game becomes a lot more complicated. Sometimes you just need magic. And I know a lot of people out there that are fans of different NFL fan bases. They're going, Kansas City didn't need this luck. They're not the team that's supposed to get moments like this. To block a 35-yard field goal. I mean, I watched a lot of college football yesterday. And in college football, that can happen from time to time, but still, not that often. You see a lot of blocked kicks on 50-plus. The Chiefs didn't even block Will Lutz's 60-yarder in the first half. You have to have nearly everything go right to block a field goal inside of 40 yards. you nearly have to have everything go right. And the Chiefs did. And what's great about that play, you go back and watch it. I know Leo Chenal was the one that got the tip, got the block. It felt like every member up there on the line had a chance to block that. They demolished Denver's offensive line on that player, their special teams unit. I mean, it didn't really have a chance at all. It wasn't like it was barely tipped. That thing was swatted, sent back down to the earth by Leo Chenal as the Chiefs go on to win 16-14 at Arrowhead Stadium. They have won 15 consecutive football games. And today is one you just don't think they're going to pull out at the very end. You don't think they're going to be able to get that one in the W column. Just because the way they looked in the first half, the way the offense squandered so many opportunities in the red zone, it was tough to watch at times. Now, when they fell behind 14-3, I think you would have been a little bit foolish to say the game's over. Oh, this is when the loss happens because they were down 11 at one point. No, there was never a deficit the Chiefs faced today that felt insurmountable, even with the way the offense looked, which, by the way, this kind of caught me off guard when I was looking at the stats in the fourth quarter. Denver looked polished offensively, except for a couple of bad sacks that Bo Nix took. But here's the totals to close out today. And I would ask you, does this seem like a 16-14 game? The Chiefs had 3 more first downs than Denver, 19-16. They were 7 of 16 on third down, not their typical best. They're the best in the league at converting on third down. Denver was 7 of 13. So that's a positive for the Broncos. Chiefs were 2 of 2 on fourth down. Denver did not try to go for it on fourth down. Total yards today. Kansas City outgained Denver 300-260. Passing yards. Patrick Mahomes outthrew Bo Nix. Rushing yards. It kind of felt like Estime was able to get a couple of holes today to put Denver at a manageable 2nd and 5 or a 3rd and 3. They only ran for 78 yards today. Now, the Chiefs didn't run that effectively. It was not a great game on the ground for Kareem Hunt, but he was excellent in the passing game. But the Chiefs ran 10 more plays than the Broncos. Nobody turned the ball over. The Chiefs were sacked 2 more times than the Broncos. The Broncos were penalized 3 more times. And the Chiefs had 7 more minutes of time of possession. To me, I mean, if Denver would have won that game, I don't think I would have walked away saying the Chiefs played horribly. That was their worst game of the year. I said this to Dylan and Kyle when I walked into the studio, that this is a game that just makes you pissed off. Makes you want to rip your hair out. Because there wasn't that ugly pick six. There wasn't the missed PAT. There were some bad moments. But the Chiefs just weren't executing offensively. It's also a really good defense that the Broncos have. Vance Joseph's done a phenomenal job for Denver this year. I believe they're second in sacks, and I think they have a top 3 scoring defense. So you're not going up against a defense like you saw on Monday night in the Buccaneers. Also was a short week for the Chiefs. I'm not trying to make too many excuses, but if this kick would have gone in, I don't think that I say this was a horrible performance by the Chiefs. I really don't. I don't think they ran the ball effectively. The offensive line, we'll get into that for sure today. But the offensive line was not great. Wanye Morris got hurt. Kingsley Suamataia replaced him. Didn't play well enough to hold down that spot because when Wanye Morris felt good enough, he replaced Kingsley Suamataia. Don't worry. If you're calling it about the offensive line, we'll be talking about that in today's show. But it's hard to wrap your mind around all these close finishes and how so many times this year, the previous year, the year before that, the Chiefs are on the winning side of it. But in a lot of those games that the Chiefs are on the winning side of it, they're the ones that get to decide it. It's Patrick Mahomes with the ball in his hand. marching down the field, setting up Harrison Butker. In moments like this, it kind of feels like you just have the Chiefs dead to rights. Remember the AFC Championship game 2022? Evan McPherson, they just walked the ball down the field, set him up for a game winner, and he drilled it. Like, that's the last time I had that pitting feeling in my stomach. And today, had that similar feel. Of course, different circumstances, but when you just feel helpless, you're out of timeouts, you can't do anything about it. The opposing quarterback is kneeling on the football to just set up a perfect chip shot for you to win the game. Real quickly, want to go down to the field and hear from Patrick Mahomes, who chatted with Melanie Collins after the game.
Field goal by Mike Dana.
It just speaks to this entire team. I mean, obviously, I felt like offensively we didn't do well enough. I missed that throw in the fourth quarter of the try that could have kind of helped us get that lead. Defensively, they stepped it up in that second half, and then the special teams. We're a full team. It's everybody, and it was a special moment.
What did it take from you guys today? You didn't have a lead in this one until 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good football team, and they play extremely hard. They have good coaches. They play hard. They have a good quarterback, and it took everybody, and we found a way in the end.
9-0 when trailing by 7 points or more. You trailed by 11 at one point today. What does that say about this team you guys have?
Yeah, it's a team. I think you said it best. It's everybody. Everybody believes. No one kind of has any doubts. We just keep pushing, and we find a way in the end.
Big game up next week against the Bills. How do you sustain this?
Yeah, we got to keep getting better. I mean, obviously, we're going to go back and watch this and try to learn from it, but we're going to take our best football in order to win that game.
Thanks, Patrick.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, what can you say after that game? I mean, the absolute momentum switch, and it's not really momentum. The feeling of emotion, maybe that's what I'm trying to say, to go from this is going to be the dagger. I got to figure out how to address the media after the game about the mistakes we made, the missed shots, the missed opportunities, to we don't need to worry about it. We're 9-0, and we're on to Buffalo. And for Denver, I know that people listening, they're not going to have too much sympathy for the Broncos because why would you? For a number of years, it was the Broncos just beating up on the Chiefs. But to play like that today with Bo Nix, a rookie quarterback coming into Arrowhead Stadium, out-dueling for a little bit, Patrick Mahomes, the defense, after giving up 41 points last week to Baltimore, they play like that at Arrowhead Stadium, a place they hadn't won at since 2015 when it was the Jamal Charles fumble game late in the fourth quarter. The fumble return for a touchdown. Peyton Manning's the quarterback, threw a pick six to Marcus Peters in that game. That's the last time Denver won in Kansas City. Today, it lined up perfectly for them. Absolutely perfectly. To just drive down the field. Didn't need to go that far because of the special teams blunder by Harrison Butker and Dave Tobe. Again, I can't really figure out the decision of doing that. I don't know why you don't just boot it out of the back of the end zone, put your defense in a good spot. To put the ball at the 40 and give Bo Nix the ball, who had been pretty efficient in this game, that just felt like a bad decision. Now, hindsight's 20/20. Of course, they weren't expecting that to happen. But you can't have a mistake like that in that spot. So Denver catches a break. They move down the field. Big third down conversion to Cortland Sutton. You can't draw it up any better because the Chiefs had to burn their timeouts there. You go to your number one wide receiver on one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. Was a perfect throw. Estime, who had had troubles hanging on to the football this year. You heard Kevin Harlan talking about that a lot today on the broadcast. He hangs on to it. Bo Nix puts it exactly where Will Lutz likes to kick it from. And it's Leo Chenal and that special teams unit, I guess making up for the special teams blunder to begin that drive. Blocking the kick. I can't recall a game like that in a long time. Not in Kansas City. I really can't comprehend an ending like that. Where you go from this is a chip shot to we're still undefeated. What a big-time play for that group. Big-time play to step up. And if they don't block another kick the rest of the year, it does not matter. Because I'm going to go as far to say this, they single-handedly won them the game. I could go back and talk about Harrison Butker's 3 field goals. He actually put points on the board. Travis Kelce, another big day. Kareem Hunt was effective in the passing game. Patrick Mahomes didn't turn it over. I could talk about all that, but I'm going to give credit where credit's due. That special teams unit, Leo Chanel, that group up front, they won the game today. They turned this game, this city, the NFL upside down for that. And they all but buried everybody else in the AFC West. It feels like the Chargers certainly can still make a push, but they've already lost to the Chiefs this year. Man, that was a great shot for Denver. That was a big moment for Sean Payton and the Broncos. A big-time moment. Mainly because he had beaten the Chiefs last year. Back-to-back years with a win. Bare minimum, a split with the 2-time defending Super Bowl champions and a team that's 12-1 against you in the Patrick Mahomes era. To have back-to-back years with a win and to have one at Arrowhead Stadium, that was a golden opportunity for Sean Payton's bunch. And to go from 6-4, walking out of Arrowhead, to 500 and back-to-back losses, that's gutting. And again, I know people listening are going, I don't care about Denver's feelings. I don't care about the Broncos. I don't care how badly they feel. And believe me, I don't either. I'm just simply bringing up the fact of when you lose a game like that to a bitter rival, that's not one you just wash away and move on from. Sean Payton will probably get in front of the mic like I am and say, well, you got to move on. There were a couple of missed opportunities earlier in the game. We're not going to blame just that. And maybe I could be wrong. Maybe he does throw the special teams unit under the bus there. But that's a hard one to erase. And when this season ends, this will 100% be a game that is circled. It's circled, it's highlighted, it's bolded, it's put in italics. That could very well be a game that dictates the rest of the Broncos season. Because the momentum you could have had leaving Arrowhead with a rookie quarterback beating Patrick Mahomes in a game where the Chiefs didn't turn it over. Your defense played phenomenally. You could have made a case that the Broncos could win 10 games, 11, maybe challenge the Chiefs for the AFC West. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. But they would have had a lot of confidence, and there's no denying that. The Chiefs, though, I mean, when you're hot, you're hot. This feels like a moment. This feels like a play that can only happen for them or to them. It doesn't really matter how much they fall behind. It doesn't matter if they make a costly mistake late. It doesn't matter if their opponent has the perfect game plan, draws up the perfect game-winning drive. This can still happen. And that's the frightening part for the rest of the NFL. What else do you have to do? What else do you have to do to beat the Chiefs? I know a lot of other NFL fan bases are sick to their stomach at this point in time. Not Kansas City, though. This is a game that was exhilarating all the way down to the wire. You had definitely come to terms with the fact they were going to lose that game. And if you're ready to call in, again, we'll be addressing it all in the second segment. That segment is always dedicated to the listeners. And you can call into our phone line at 913-381-0810. It's 913-381-0810. Look, I was not confident they were winning that football game. Not when Bo Nix had kneeled down. I was not. Dylan, were you confident when they were bringing Will Lutz out there after the field goal? Like, if you would have gone back in time and asked your past self, what is the percentage the Chiefs lose this game, what would it have been at?
See, I'm more hopeful than confident in that situation.
Okay.
You're sitting there hoping versus expecting something to happen that's good. You're hoping that what we saw.
You're hoping for a miracle.
What we saw.
Okay.
That is exactly
That's
what
fair.
you're playing in your mind of, please let this happen.
You are more hopeful than I was.
Maybe a miss, too. Like just absolutely shanking at the wind, taking it.
Yeah, and even then I'm going, Will Lutz, prior to the 60-yard field goal, I believe was 15 of 16 on the year.
He just hit his – or no, yeah, he missed it. He
missed the 60-yarder, yeah. His career
he had it
long,
online.
it was online. Just didn't have the leg.
Right.
His season long, I think, was 52. He's well within that.
Right.
It's 35 yards. I'm sorry. I'll out myself here. I gave it a 0% chance. If I gave it anything, it would have been like 0.1. Because in the NFL, when you have a reliable kicker and you're inside of 40 yards, it's just a chip shot for them.
If you don't have a kicker that can hit inside 40, he's off your team.
Exactly.
At 50, actually, nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, you see how many great kickers there are out there, including one you have in Kansas City and Harrison Butker. Like, those are kicks they can make in their sleep. If we ran this back 10 times, Will Lutz makes 9 of them. And the only time he misses is this happening, a blocked kick. I think if that's not blocked, that's in. And that sounds like a stupid thing to say, but I truly do believe that in that spot, on the hash that he wanted, Will Lutz was not missing that kick if it wasn't blocked. I don't think he was shanking it left. I don't think he was pushing it right. The Chiefs had to block it to win that game. Not even a tip, I think, would have done it. And the reason I say that is because when you're inside of 40 yards, you could tip the ball, and it still might find a way in. You might be able to just get it over the crossbar, even if you get a finger on it. But the Chiefs did not just get a finger on it. They got a paw on it. Leo Chanel's paw. And he just pummeled it back down into the grass at Arrowhead Stadium. Chiefs move to 9-0. They are still undefeated. They have now beaten the Chargers, the Raiders, and the Broncos to begin 2024. They will take their undefeated record to Orchard Park next week. They'll have a matchup with the Buffalo Bills, who are still hunting for the number 1 seed in the AFC. We'll take our first break of the show. When we come back, we'll get to some of your thoughts, the callers, and you can call in at 913-381-810. That's 913-381-810. You're listening to the Red and Gold Postgame Show on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Yeah, surprise, surprise. Leo Chanel blocking the game-winning kick by Will Lutz is our play of the game, brought to you by Central Bank of the Midwest. And don't worry, we'll be getting the callers quickly, but we got the man of the hour at the podium, Leo Chanel, after blocking the game-winning kick by the Denver Broncos.
You feel the weight of the moment, so.
These are hard to get. You got the one in the Super Bowl last year, obviously. You feel like maybe that was it. You were done for your career in that regard?
That was definitely a big moment, and, I want to credit Mike Dana on that one, because I'll get the stat for it. It kind of went through my hand, and, he's the one that really stopped the ball. In the Super Bowl, yeah. So, he's not going to get credit because of the stat, but, big credit to him. But it's never that mentality of like, I'm never going to get there again. When you got guys like, like I said, Jay Reid out there rushing like he does, Jack, and the big push by the big guys in the middle, George, what he does, and just working on get-offs. It's bound to happen, and it's been a long time. It's coming.
Does it take you guys operating in unison more so than you being the one to knock it away?
Say that again?
How much does that play rely on you guys working in unison to a point, even more so than maybe just your individual play?
Oh man, it's big. It's like I said, it's like a team effort. They have to respect Jay Reid on the outside. They got to respect our guys rushing on the outside and in the middle. So they can't. It's not like they can just like lean heavy to one guy. So it's a big credit. George, he's doing what he's doing. He's right beside me all the time, and he's always getting good pressure right there. Anytime I get my hand near it, George is right there. He's got a little bit bigger wingspan than me. So, but yeah, it's a big team effort.
Offensively, did they do anything that you had seen before?
They were relying, heavily kind of on the RPO, that 4-strong look. We got a bit to clean up in that regard, just, kind of being disciplined in that assignment. And, I'm confident in our guys that, we'll attack it, next time around, or, whoever gives it to us next.
Okay, guys. Thanks, Leo.
Thank you, guys.
All right, that was Leo Chanel. Giving a lot of credit to guys around him for making that block. But you go back and watch the replay. You watch the highlight there. He runs over number 54 of the Broncos, then leaps, then blocks the ball. I've never seen a pure strength play like that. That is unbelievable. The type of pure strength that Leo Chanel has to block that game-winning kick by Will Lutz. Now, Dylan, are we ready to take some of the callers right now? Or we got to wait a little bit till Nick Bolton. Dylan tells me we got to wait just a little bit. So for those on the phone line, no, don't worry. We'll be getting to you rather shortly, right after we get some of the players at the podium. So we can take the callers, or we have to go to Patrick Mahomes here. So we'll actually wait. Yes, we're going to go to the callers now. We finally got the official word. We are going to go to Kyle. Kyle, you're on the Red and Gold Postgame Show.
Hey, thank you for taking my call. Hey, real quick, I got 3 points I want to make real quick. The first point I want to make is the offensive line. Patrick Mahomes is being sacked. He had no time. The tackles were absolutely not there. Jaron Taylor did terrible. And, when Morris went down, the backup, I think the tackles are going to be an issue from here on out. But Jaron Taylor's got to clean some of that stuff up. But also Carson Steele, too. It looked like Mahomes on one play told Carson Steele to help out on the left tackle side, and he failed to do that. So there are some issues on the offensive line, and there's some stuff going on. So that's my first point I want to make. Second point is the wide receivers were not getting open. Now, I know Mahomes missed Worthy on that wide-open pass, but all game long, it seemed like the wide receivers were not getting open. Hopkins was not getting open. Xavier Worthy wasn't getting open. And that needs to – and it looked like the wide receivers were just struggling, and Mahomes had nobody to throw to. So that's my second point. The third point I want to make is the defense played outstanding. Again, they held the Broncos under 20 points. Yeah, they gave up big plays, but again, our defense is what kept us in this game, and our special teams is what won us the game. But defense and special teams win the game for us. I'll listen off the air, but thank you for taking my call.
Hey, appreciate the phone call, Kyle. And, I do want to talk about the offensive line because there are some glaring issues at the left tackle spot. There can be good reps, certainly, and we can highlight some of those good reps that Wanya Morris and Kingsley Suamataia had. I'm more so looking at what Kingsley did once he came in for Wanya Morris. And this is a guy that won the job right out of camp. Wanya Morris wasn't really healthy, though, in camp. And after week 2 against Cincinnati, when Trey Hendrickson really beat him up, the Chiefs made that decision to go with Wanya going into that week 3 game against Atlanta. I thought there was going to be a little bit of hope for Kingsley today, mainly because as good as that defensive line was for Denver, to me there wasn't that Trey Hendrickson on the other side, right? There wasn't that number 1 elite pass rusher that could just abuse a rookie. But Kingsley didn't look good enough. And when Wanya Morris got healthy enough, they made the switch again. And at that point, I said, I don't know if you can put him back in the game unless you have to now, or back in a game this season. I mean, when you think about it now, that's 2 times that he's been out there and they've had to make the switch. Now, Wanya Morris is moving forward. He's a starting left tackle. Unless they go out there and sign somebody else like a Donovan Smith, Wanya Morris is the guy. And I had less issues with Wanya Morris today than I usually have. I thought he came in and filled nicely for Kingsley Suamataia, but unfortunately, it just looks like there's too much being thrown at Kingsley Suamataia, and there was a lot of bad snaps out there. And some of the times, he didn't even get a hand on a speed rusher of Denver. It was not pretty. Going to go back to the phone lines, and let's hear from Gary. Gary, what's going on?
Not much. Still trying to get my heart to calm down after that.
We all are.
But the left tackle of the future is not on this roster. He's not. Suamataia, he was a second-team All-Big 12 tackle. I know he's got athleticism and that, but if they're going to look for an offensive lineman, please go to the Big Ten or the SEC. No more of these BYU offensive linemen. See John Tate. He was a serviceable guy, but he was never anything special until he went to the right side. And defensively, they need to learn how to start closing out games because this is 2 weeks in a row. They've let a team get down the field to either tie a game or attempt to win a game. It was special teams that won this game today. On that drive, I thought the special teams were going to take it away with the kickoff out of bounds, but then to come down and get that block. But defensively, Trent McDuffie had a bad day. I know they only allowed 14 points, but that wasn't Jerry Rice or Lynn Swan over there on the other side. That was Cortland Sutton and those other guys. But I saw that Worthy went down, another small receiver that we have. You look at who's making plays in the receiving game right now. It's your 6'4" DeAndre Hopkins, not your 5'8" Xavier Worthy. Somebody tweeted during the game Monday night, Xavier Worthy is a Temu version of Tyreek Hill. I think that describes him perfectly. But defensively, yeah, it's great you allowed the 14 points, but they've got to start closing out games because this is 2 weeks in a row. Is this a sign of things to come, or is it just a hiccup here for this defense? But I'll hang up and listen. Great show, guys.
Hey, appreciate it, Gary. And, I do think with Xavier Worthy, and we do have Nick Bolton coming to the podium rather shortly, so for Jerry, Frankie, and Dan, don't worry, right after Nick Bolton, we'll be getting to some of your thoughts on the Chiefs' 16-14 win over the Denver Broncos this afternoon. In regards to Xavier Worthy, and hopefully I can get it in before Bolton gets to the podium, I do think some of the struggles right now and some of that regression is just being in a spot that a lot of people didn't think he was going to be in. We'll talk about that after we hear from Nick Bolton.
I think we could have did a better job kind of mixing up our looks, probably holding our disguise a little bit, make them think a little bit more pre-snap. But overall, I thought we played a pretty decent game today. Yeah, I think Coach Back saw something throughout the week that he kind of saw. I kind of waited for the right position to call it. It was something new we put in this week. The back kind of went over to block Jay Reid, and I was free. I just had to make the layup. I kind of missed the last couple ones, the last couple of games, so it felt good to get that one.
What's it like winning? I'm sorry, Nick. Nick, just your feeling, once you saw the kick was blocked at the end of the game, just taking through your feelings.
Yeah, man. I'm super proud of the guys, man. When you get down in that situation, start moving the ball on you a little bit, kind of get down, play bad football, kind of let the touchdown go or something like that, and you didn't give a chance to block a field goal. I think our guys came out there, man. We were real close throughout the game, and it was a little relentless effort on that last play, and we got 2 guys, I think, free. I think Leo was the one who got the block.
When there's 1 second on the clock, you're lining up the field goal. Are you open, wishing? What's What's your mindset at that moment?
Yeah, man, I'm hoping that we can get pressure, man. Wishing to have bad execution, a little bit of both, man. Yeah, I think our Coach Hope had a great plan throughout the week, and he said our time was due going into the meeting we had before today, and yeah, our time was due. We got one today.
Nick, what can you say about the game that Bo Nix put together, the challenge that will come with him now that he is the opposing team?
Yeah, man, I think he does a good job of taking what's given to him, and make it kind of easy for him for reads and pre-snap movement and getting to the line early. I think all those things kind of help him progress as the game goes. He touch gets the feel for it, and also he can use his legs. I think that's something that's going to be a challenge for us as we continue to play him next time and stuff like that. He uses his legs, extend plays on the field, get out the pocket, has great escapability, great feel for the game. Definitely going to be a challenge for us.
Nick, as a fellow linebacker, watching Leo make that block, what's the feeling, as a linebacker with him?
Yeah, man. He said he wanted to get one. He's been close all year. I think I was super proud of him for keeping guys in there. He made sure all 10 guys that are around him gave out all out effort. I think it kind of helped him get his pressure as well. The interiors guys, they did something different, mixed up what they were doing, go to A gap to A gap, and kind of got guys to lunge a little bit and open up the lane for him, and he got a block.
Anything else? Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, thank you.
That was Nick Bolton after the 16-14 win over the Denver Broncos at Arrowhead Stadium. I did get this on Twitter. Our very own Jake Gutierrez, producer for A New Day with SSJ. This kind of catches me off guard. The Broncos' highest winning percentage, of course, came when they sent the field goal unit out there. Only 80%. That does surprise me. I thought at least it would have been in the 90s. So next time around, maybe I need to be a little bit more hopeful and positive that something like that could happen with the Chiefs trying to block a kick or force a miss at the end of regulation. Back to the phone lines. Let's hear from Jerry. Jerry, you're on the Red and Gold Postgame Show.
That was just absolutely wonderful game, I thought. I promised myself earlier this year that I wouldn't get uptight about Chiefs being behind or anything, and I'm usually at ease with it. That was about as close as you can get. Between Mizzou and Kansas City, they covered both ends of the spectrum. Mizzou shocked everybody by scoring points at the end, and the Chiefs shocked everybody by not allowing points at the end. I thought that was really neat. But I like what Leo Chenal, that's just typical Chiefs. He gives credit to Mike Dana, and any Chiefs that you try and praise or give, praises to, they want to spread it around. That's definitely teamwork. I think that's awesome too. I think you guys do a really good show. I was kind of shocked though. I noticed something that I think Dylan said that it probably wasn't that, but I thought I seen Kelsey, that last pass that Patrick threw to him. I thought he was having a little bit of issues lifting his arms up, but that could have just been, like Dylan said, it was probably already thrown too far, and he just said, oh, well, I'd have to see it again to see, but I was hoping for the best. But my dream is still alive, 9-0. I said 17-0. I heard, what's his name? You have a friend, a colleague. He said 17-0, and I'm hoping that they go ahead and make it all the way to the Super Bowl 20-0. I'll let you go. I wish I had better points, but thanks for the game. I loved it.
Hey, all good, Jerry. All good. There's a lot of people around this studio that might still be confident about 17-0 in the regular season. Still a ways to go, but you're over the halfway point now. I mean, I was one of those people today that thought when Will Lutz went out there, the streak dies this afternoon. And it would have been weird to think that between the Super Bowl victory, all these wins, the two losses would have been at home to the Raiders and at home to the Broncos, to Bo Nix and Aiden O'Connell. Wouldn't have been on my bingo card, that's for sure. Back to the phone lines. Let's hear from Frankie. Frankie, what's on your mind? We got you, Frankie?
Yeah, you got me?
Yep, got you loud and clear.
All right, thanks for taking my call, man. First, I just want to say, in Veach, in Reid, in Mahomes, we trust. They've done enough. whenever we do have problems or voids on our team, they've always done enough to compensate for the lack of or the amount of problems that we might have or develop during a season, like we have this year. Yes, we have a lot of deficiencies, but in Veach we trust. In Reid we trust. We always seem to find ways to win. That's what good football teams do, is they remain in positions to take advantage of a blocked field goal at the end of the game. Another thing I wanted to touch on just real quick is when you said it feels like it's a moment for them. I really hadn't thought about the cherry on top of a three-peat, undefeated three-peat, until, like, we keep winning games that looks like we shouldn't, and having more of those times that seems like it's just Kansas City's moment. I don't know how you feel about it. I don't know how many people are actually starting to maybe even think about the possibility of taking Miami's annual get-together away, but I got it on my mind now. Thanks. I'll listen off air.
Hey, love the phone call, Frankie. Love all the optimism as well. You know, it's going to tell a lot next week. I have been holding off. I've been reserved until that Buffalo game. If they beat the Bills, I'm not saying it's a shoo-in at that point, but that's what I'm really going to start thinking. This could maybe have a chance. Right now, I'm still going to say no because back-to-back weeks, you have Tampa Bay and Denver at home, two teams that you should have comfortably beaten, and they were close games. One was an overtime thriller. One came down to a kick today. So I like to say that games against Carolina and games against the Raiders again and games against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh looked great today. That's going to be another tough one on Christmas Day. But you've got that game. You're going to have to go back to Denver. I mean, there's still 8 more wins to go. But I will say this. I might selfishly start entertaining it if they win next week against Buffalo. If they get to 10-0 with a win against the Bills, the one game I'm really circling is that Pittsburgh game on Christmas Day. Because you have some of those matchups against the Raiders at home. You've got Carolina on the road there. The Chargers in L.A. That's not really going to be a home game for the Chargers, more so a home game for the Chiefs again. Definitely can circle Denver and Mile High now, the final week of the season. But to me, as much as I would love an undefeated year, I think everybody here in Kansas City would love a three-peat with a 20-0 record. Still a long ways to go, though. Now, I'm not going to crush your dreams, though. If you want to be hopeful, I mean, you talk about the team of destiny. These plays, they just don't happen for every other team in the NFL. It seems to only happen for the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, last phone caller of the show will be Dan in KCK. Dan, you're on the Red and Gold Postgame Show.
Hey, Jack, how you doing? Yeah, it was a great win by the Chiefs. I watched the game at power like this, but defense did real good, and Kelsey with a touchdown. Just the offensive line's got to be blocked better. But anyway, good win. Let's take care of the Bills next week. Take care, Jack.
Hey, love it. Nice short and sweet from Dan there. And offensive line, we'll certainly be talking about that. I'm sure that Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid will be addressing the offensive line as well. Probably more so Andy Reid because of the left tackle position. One point I do want to make before we hit break, come back, might get some audio, might get some further recap of a thrilling 16-14 victory of the Denver Broncos. I wanted to finish up that point on Xavier Worthy. This is a guy that I do think is going to get there eventually. Do I think he'll be a number one wide receiver? I do not. But that number one wide receiver spot's going to be Rashee Rice once he comes back. You'll have Rashee Rice. You know, maybe Hollywood Brown comes back because he missed the entire year. He'll take a team-friendly one-year deal. Maybe you find a way to work something out with DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, in a real prolific, explosive, damn good offense, I think Xavier Worthy's the number 3/4 because he's that gadget guy. You can use him like a gadget player when he's the number 3, number 4. If he's the number 1, number 2, some of his weaknesses are really going to be exploited. And right now, I think that him and Mahomes are not really on the same page. Back-to-back weeks now with a deep ball that either Xavier Worthy didn't really have his footing or Patrick Mahomes threw the ball out of bounds. Today, that was more so on number 15 than it was on number 1. But to me, this rookie season for him, a lot's being thrown at him, not because he's elevating his way up the depth chart. It's kind of by default. Rashee Rice gets hurt. Hollywood Brown gets hurt. Juju Smith-Schuster gets hurt. If he's like at the number 3, number 4 spot, I think you'll see more of his strengths than more of his weaknesses getting exploited. Okay, we're going to take our second break here in the first hour. You're listening to the Red and Gold Postgame Show brought to you by Boda Box Wine. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Boda Box, the ultimate tailgate wine. Boda Box, this is how we Boda. Please drink responsibly. Sponsored by Boda Box Vineyards, Manteca, California. We'll take a quick break. You're listening to Sports Radio 810 WHB. It might as well be DeAndre Hopkins. But that connection, 31 yards, Patrick Mahomes and DeAndre Hopkins. The final offensive drive for the Chiefs that set up their go-ahead field goal is our sweet play of the game, and it's brought to you by Andy's Frozen Custard. Enjoy a treat and give to a great cause. The 87 Concrete, crafted by Travis Kelce himself, consists of vanilla, frozen custard, Oreo, cookie dough, and cream caramel. A portion of the proceeds go to support Travis Kelce's 87 Running Foundation. Top your day with a smile at Andy's. And you are tuned into the Red and Gold Postgame Show, brought to you by Boda Box Wine. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Boda Box, the ultimate tailgate wine. Boda Box is the premium boxed wine that wins with wine critics. Boda Box, this is how we Boda. Please drink responsibly. Sponsored by Boda Box Vineyards, Manteca, California. I promised to go over this a little bit after we had given our immediate reaction to Leo Chenal blocking the game-winning field goal by Will Lutz and the Denver Broncos, giving the Chiefs their 9th consecutive victory of the season and their 15th straight win, dating back to Christmas Day of 2023, or at least that was their last loss. The first win after that, if I'm not mistaken, was the Chargers in L.A. That was the final week of the regular season. That's when this winning streak started. So they will take their 15-game winning streak into Orchard Park next Sunday. Bills and Chiefs at 3:25. But as I said, we got to talk about this offensive line. And I'm not going to be going over the interior. Trey Smith, Joe Thuney, Creed Humphrey, they're fine. That's one of the best interior lines in all of the NFL. I got no issue with what Trey Smith's giving you. I got no issue with Creed Humphrey or Joe Thuney. I really don't have that much of an issue with what Jawan Taylor's been giving the Chiefs. I mean, we were talking about it on Monday night. Jawan Taylor is really cut down on the penalties. For the most part, he's keeping Patrick Mahomes clean from the right side. I think we got to talk about left tackle. And I think a lot of you out there, if you're being honest with yourselves, you want to talk about the left tackle position as well. Because if Wanya Morris goes down again, right, he found a way to get back into this game. That shows toughness. That shows grit. I commend him for that. Because that Chiefs offense was really struggling with Kingsley Suamataia out there. And again, as I called myself out for not being hopeful at all and the Chiefs blocking that kick or Will Lutz missing, I'm going to call myself out again. Because on draft night, we actually had some draft coverage on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I remember Dylan and I were here. Maybe it was Kyle and I. One of you two was producing it. But when the Chiefs took Kingsley Suamataia, I loved the pick because I thought Suamataia was a first-round talent. I wouldn't have been surprised if the Chiefs had taken him with their first pick in the first round. But they get good value for him in the second round. And I'm not saying that I'm punting on Kingsley Suamataia being a good offensive lineman for the Kansas City Chiefs. The difficult part about being a rookie on this team is that you almost have to be a contributor pretty quickly. If you're a starter, I think the expectation is you got to play up to the level that a lot of these guys are matching you with, right? If you're a wide receiver, if you're Xavier Worthy, and even though you were going to be a number 3, number 4, you got to play up to the level that Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster and Justin Watson are giving that offense. If you're an offensive lineman, you're a left tackle, and you win that job, it's an important position on the field. You are protecting the blind side of a franchise and Hall of Fame quarterback. So when you do struggle, it really gets magnified. It's shown out there to everybody. But more so than last year, more so than the final year with Orlando Brown Jr., this left tackle position just feels like it's a week-to-week thing. You really don't know what you're going to get. Now, what's a little bit disappointing is I thought Wanya Morris was coming off a decent performance against Tampa Bay. And I thought he was going to have a decent chance to build on that against Denver. But when he goes down with that knee injury, Kingsley Suamataia comes in, and I'm not going to say they were all bad snaps. There were good snaps for Suamataia. I thought he was actually great on this one, a screenplay they had to Kareem Hunt, if I'm not mistaken. Or it might have been a toss play. I think it was a toss play to Kareem Hunt. He got outside, had a clean block, but then on the very next snap, what happened? Guy goes untouched to Patrick Mahomes. And even if they are lining up way, way, way up the line, they're getting closer to where the wide receivers are than where the left tackle is, you still have to find a way to put yourself in a better position. And not once but twice, that burned Suamataia. I mean, just completely left open to Patrick Mahomes. And if you are coming in to fill in or to win your job back, those snaps just can't happen. And yeah, I thought that after the first time, the Chiefs needed to be chipping just about every single play for Suamataia on the left side because Denver was just abusing the left side. And it was becoming worrisome. I think really for the first time all year, I take that back. Week 2 against Cincinnati, I had those fears because Kingsley Suamataia got benched. And you had to wonder, is this really the fix for the left tackle position? And then Wanya Morris took the job and he ran with it a little bit. Today, because of injury situations, Suamataia got another chance, but he didn't really progress. And I think we all started to get that feeling of now we know why the switch was made, why it was made so quickly, and why we haven't seen a switch since. Now, let me be clear. Suamataia is a young football player. And let us not lose sight of the fact that he was thrust into an incredibly important role as a 21-year-old for a team going for a three-peat. That's a lot to throw at a guy. But as I said, when you join this organization, there's just a level of expectation that's not always the same for other NFL franchises. If you're a rookie and you're an offensive lineman on a team that's tanking, you look at Carolina, for example, you don't need that rookie to be a superstar in year one. You're hoping to see those flashes, those glimpses, where they can eventually build to become a great player by year 2, year 3. Maybe more along the lines of your contention window. The contention window is now in Kansas City, and they've already won 3 Super Bowls, but they're going for a 4th, and they're going for a three-peat. And a lot of people, as harsh as this sounds, a lot of people are just not going to sit around and say, well, he's young, he'll be progressing throughout the week. I'm all right going through these growing pains in week 10, week 11, and week 12, and so on and so forth. For a lot of fans, that gets old after like week 3 or week 4. At that point, you're going, we need to have a solution here. Now, Xavier Worthy has gotten criticism before for not living up to that first-round expectation. And it's been a little bit tougher because all the wide receivers have gotten banged up this year, it seems like. But in the left tackle position, what makes that more alarming is I don't think there is a perfect solution. I don't think that Wanya Morris is the end-all, be-all at left tackle. No matter how this season ends up, the Chiefs are going to have to look themselves in the mirror in the offseason and really look inward, I guess I would say. Ask themselves, are these two guys going to be a future left tackle, 4 or 5 years down the road? You just can count on them to start like you've counted on Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith to start over and over and over again. If that answer is maybe, even a maybe, I think you have to make a decision at left tackle going into 2025-26. That needs to be your end-all, be-all. Whether it be free agency, whether it be trade, you got to make sure that left tackle spot is tightened up. But here's the best-case scenario. Wanya Morris really builds, really starts to progress, and by the end of the year, you're going, that's our guy. That's our guy. But right now, 9 games into the year, I just haven't been blown away, And I knew there was going to be some growing pains, but at what point do the growing pains have to stop? At what point do you go from, all right, they've had their issues, but they've gotten it buttoned up, they've gotten it tightened up, now they're an average left tackle. And the Chiefs haven't had above-average left tackle play for quite some time. I know that Pete Sweeney and I talked about it on Arrowhead Pride Radio. It's not been an elite position for them. They usually just get by. But is this a year where it could derail them against a really good defense in the postseason? That remains to be seen. But where I stand right now on the spot, I just feel, I think queasy is like the best way to describe it. I feel queasy about it because games like today can happen again. But also games like Monday where they're not really a problem, those can happen as well. We'll see what happens on Sunday, next Sunday that is, against the Buffalo Bills. We'll take another break. You're listening to the Red and Gold Postgame Show on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Bolton's sack was our defensive play of the game, which is brought to you by Boda-Box. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Boda-Box, the ultimate tailgate wine. Boda-Box is the premium boxed wine that wins with wine critics. Boda-Box, this is how we Boda. Please drink responsibly. Sponsored by Boda-Box Vineyards, Manteca, California. Before we hear from Andy Reid and get his thoughts on a wild 16-14 win over the Denver Broncos, you don't say that much. A wild 16-14 win. Now, not many times when both teams score under 17 points is it wild, but it absolutely was wild, as Leo Chenal had a game-winning blocked field goal to put the Chiefs to 9-0 heading into their game against the Buffalo Bills next Sunday. But I wanted to talk about this tweet that comes from Nick Kosmitter. I believe that's how you pronounce it. If I got it wrong, I do apologize. But he covers the Denver Broncos for The Athletic. And he put this out there 23 minutes ago. Quote, "As gutted a locker room as I've seen since I began covering the Broncos. Tear-stained faces. Long stares. Still some disbelief. Malcolm Roach said games like this are supposed to hurt. If you're not invested, you wouldn't feel this way." This is now, I think, the second post-game comment that we've heard from a player, or at least a reaction. I mean, Broncos players having tear-stained faces for losing a regular season game. I mean, it shows you how much it means to a lot of teams out there to beat the Chiefs. Let's go back to week 2. Remember Joe Burrow saying in the press conference that it's as frustrated as he's ever been? Right? That's a week 2 game. But it's because it's Kansas City. When you've got the Chiefs on the ropes and you can't capitalize, and the loss that Denver had today was far worse, both for playoff implications and also team morale, than what Cincinnati had back in week 2. Like, the Chiefs winning in week 2 was more so of just a middle finger to the Bengals. Of, we just keep beating you here. Ever since you called it Burrowhead, we just keep winning. For Denver, this was almost their statement to say, hey, your run in the AFC West, it's not going to be as easy anymore. Bo Nix and Sean Payton are going to give you hell every single time we play. So, yeah, I'm not surprised at all that Denver locker room is just absolutely gutted after a loss like that. If that was the other way around and the Chiefs lost that way, I don't know what type of words I would have been able to say on this postgame show. I would have been at a loss of words. But I know who was not at a loss of words, though he'll probably not give the most long and detailed responses that you're looking for, would be head coach Andy Reid. He did have the chance to talk to the media, of course, as he does following every single game. Not as long today, which, as I said, Andy Reid's usually not that long-winded when it comes to a lot of descriptions of the game or thoughts, and that's who he is, because all he does is continue to win football games, have quick answers, and move on to the next game. Very Bill Belichick-esque. They can share that when they both retire and are in the Hall of Fame and maybe hang out one day. But here was Andy Reid's opening statement after a 16-14 win over Denver.
All right. I'd like to thank the fans for the support. They stayed, and had a great show by our special teams put on there at the end. Up to that point, I thought, my hat goes off to Denver for the job that they did. I thought defensively, offensively, they were strong, and it ended up being one of those kind of games, back and forth, and they arguably take it down for the winning kick, and then Leo steps up and does what Leo does every week. Somewhere he makes a play. Defensively, special teams, somewhere he steps up and makes a play. And he did a great job with that. Other than that, I'm going to give credit to Najee, because Najee never gets any credit. So for leading the team in tackles, he did a nice job there. And then offensively, Kels had a big day. Again, with 7 receptions for 58 yards, and then he tied, I believe, Tony for most catches in team history. So, or touchdowns in team history. So, all good there. Lots of room to improve. We've got a good team that we're going to play this next weekend here. So we've got to get ourselves ready, learn from the mistakes from today, and move on. But I'm proud of our guys for battling. I told you that during training camp. They got big hearts, and you got a chance to see that today. So that time's yours.
Yeah, good on Andy Reid bringing up Travis Kelce, tying Tony Gonzalez for most touchdowns, receiving touchdowns in his Chiefs career. 76 for Travis Kelce, 76 for Tony Gonzalez, and he can have the chance to break it next weekend against the Buffalo Bills in Orchard Park. Only 2 touchdowns on the year for Travis Kelce, but he's absolutely been picking up steam a little bit. He's been catching fire every single week, and now that DeAndre Hopkins is here and becoming more of a threat in this offense, it only has opened up things a lot more for Travis Kelce. He also, of course, had the chance to talk about the field goal block and Leo Chenal, the impact that he made on that. So here were Andy Reid's thoughts on that final play.
Andy, do you see some sort of weakness in their field goal protection? Do you think that you take advantage of?
Yeah, so I get to see that every day, how we work that block and that last final shot there. And, we did. But it's also something that we work on like crazy. So it normally doesn't work quite like that, but that one, we had a couple of different guys. George was in there too, I believe. So I haven't had a chance to look at the replay of it, but it looked like we had a couple different guys in there.
Leo blocked the kick in the Super Bowl last year. What kind of ability does he have? What's special about him allows him to?
Yeah, listen, he's a great athlete. Big, strong kid, plays 100 miles an hour. He does it in practice. He does it during games. Plays anywhere and everywhere, never says anything. Comes from a family. He's got like 40 brothers and sisters, so he's used to sharing. So he doesn't really care about who gets the credit and doesn't get the credit. He just goes.
Yeah, I think it's the perfect description of Leo Chenal, because when we heard him at the podium a little bit earlier on in the Red and Gold Postgame Show, he talked about his teammates setting him up for that. Even though he's the one who bowled over I don't even know what the guard there in that spot. I mean, there were 5 or 6 guys that could have gotten a hand on the ball, and Leo Chenal definitely made it noteworthy that it was just him in the right spot at the right time. But Andy Reid talking about his selflessness. He is a team guy. He's always talking about his teammates more so than himself. And, yeah, it's hard not to like a guy like Leo Chenal, not just because of today, but what he's done since coming out of the draft and joining Kansas City. Now, Andy Reid also talked about the message you send this team after moving to 9-0 and heading on to Buffalo.
Yeah, there's not much you can say. It's the game told the story, and for it to end like that, I haven't been around a lot of those walk-off blocks, so I'm going to enjoy it, but I'm also going to get to work fixing the other things that we need to fix before we go to Buffalo. But you enjoy every one of these the best you possibly can, because it's tough in this league. The parity in this league is ridiculous.
Yeah, Andy has the same thought that I had when I saw that block kick. When was the last time there was a walk-off blocked kick that was inside of 40 yards? It'll take some homework. I'm not expecting to have the answer right now, but it's very rare that a kick inside the 40, unless I'm just blanking on some game last year. I know there's a lot of NFL games every single day. I can't think of any in recent memory. Having a game-winning blocked kick inside of like 40 yards. Maybe just a game-winning block kick so we don't have to go back as far, so I don't need to be as detailed with the description there. So Andy Reid said I haven't been a part of a lot of those. I don't remember any in recent memory that I could watch somebody block the game-winning kick that was such a chip shot for the opposing kicker. And lastly, Andy Reid talked about going for it twice today on 4th down, and of course, that left tackle position with Kingsley Suamataia and Wanya Morris.
Coach, the field goal obviously took the lead late, but was there any consideration in going for it on that 4th down?
No.
Andy, did you consider moving maybe Joe Tooney out to left tackle the way you guys are struggling without Wanya there?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
All right, good, thank you.
Yeah, that's a man of few words there, Andy Reid. No to both of those. Did not contemplate going for it on 4th and goal with the Chiefs down 1, which that had to be a pretty easy answer for Andy when you got to take the points. You only got 13 points up until the fourth quarter. Not really sure you can risk going for it in that spot, even though Denver had a golden opportunity to win it late because the Chiefs just weren't really running the ball that effectively and guys weren't getting open in the end zone for Patrick Mahomes. Though on that last play, that 3rd and goal, Patrick Mahomes just missed Travis Kelce. That was a gimme to number 87 and would have put Travis Kelce ahead of Tony Gonzalez for the all-time receiving touchdowns leader in Kansas City history. So, to me, there was that great opportunity to put 7 on the board there. They actually would have gone for 2, so maybe even 8 on the board and put the defense in a really good spot. But a no for Andy Reid there on going for it, and a no on that left tackle situation with Suamataia and Wanye Morris. But that was Andy Reid after today's 16-14 win over the Denver Broncos. We'll take a quick break. You're listening to the Red and Gold Postgame Show, which is brought to you by Boda Box Wine. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Boda Box, the ultimate tailgate wine. Boda Box, this is how we Boda. Please drink responsibly. Sponsored by Boda Box Vineyards, Manteca, California. You're listening to Sports Radio 810, WHB. His 76th receiving touchdown as a Chief, tying him with Tony Gonzalez, is the Andy Reid call of the game, and it's brought to you by Shamrock Roofing and Construction. You can make the right call as well by visiting shamrockroofer.com. Shamrock Roofing and Construction, one call does it all. And you are tuned in to the Red and Gold Postgame Show, brought to you by Boda Box Wine. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Boda Box, the ultimate tailgate wine. Boda Box is the premium boxed wine that wins with wine critics. Boda Box, this is how we Boda. Please drink responsibly. Sponsored by Boda Box Vineyards, Manteca, California. Well, you heard from Andy Reid after a Chiefs 16-14 victory over the Denver Broncos. Headline by a game-winning blocked field goal by Leo Chenal to put the Chiefs at 9-0. You got Andy Reid's thoughts. Now it's time to get the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, his reaction to the Chiefs beating Denver 16-14 at the buzzer. First thing he talked about, surprise, surprise, was that field goal block and the trust that he has in his teammates.
I was just happy, man. I was happy that we ended with that block and Leo got through there, and it was just joy after that.
I know you never give up, but what is the mindset as that play's happening? I mean, you're probably pretty worried, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely are. It's just a low percentage for a block, but I mean, if anyone's going to do it, I mean, Tobe and his team's going to have a design rush or design way to get to getting the hand on it. So it was obviously, you're obviously worried. It's out of your control, but at the same time, I have trust in my teammates. They're going to go out there and make a play.
Yeah, you can always trust somebody on this Chiefs team to make a play. It's what's made them so good in the Patrick Mahomes era. It's not just the offensive guys anymore. It used to be just wait till Mahomes makes the play. Just wait till Travis Kelce makes the play or Tyreek Hill. Now it can be anybody on any given unit. Offense, defense, special teams. And today, it was Leo Chenal on special teams. Here was Patrick Mahomes on Chanel's play.
He's extremely strong. I mean, he's like the strength of a D lineman, but he plays linebacker position. I mean, you don't want to be that guy when he's working out. We call him John Cena. So he's a guy that gets after it, and we've used him on offense because the way he's able to use his speed and athleticism with that power. And he did it in the Super Bowl, and he did it again today.
John Cena. You can't see me. And clearly the Broncos did not see Leo Chenal until the very end. That is going to be clipped over and over again this week. He doesn't just, I guess, look like John Cena. Kind of feel like everything he does on the field mimics John Cena. Well, his teammates are usually the guys that are going to give him the best nickname. And Patrick Mahomes telling you right there that John Cena is the nickname for Leo Chenal, who got the game-winning block against the Denver Broncos. It's a great story. It's a great story, and I know that there it is. There it is. I was stalling until we got the great theme song for John Cena. And now I think it's fitting, Dylan, that moving forward on this show, I'm not going to call him Leo Chenal, just call him John Cena. If that's what his teammates call him, I'm only going to respect that.
Mama calls him Clay. We're going to call him Clay.
Yeah.
Teammates call him John Cena. We have to call him John Cena.
We have to call him John Cena. And I hope now, when we have locker room reports and we get those midweek press conferences, nobody refers to him as Leo Chenal. Just refer to him as John Cena. It's a lot more fun that way. Patrick Mahomes also talked about some of the missed opportunities that the Chiefs had in the red zone and also this matchup with the Denver Broncos.
Offensively, does it feel like a win?
Yeah, I mean, they all feel like wins. I've learned that any way you win is good in this league. Obviously, there's stuff to learn from. Thought we did good things in good spots. I missed if I make the touchdown throw to Trav and I make the touchdown throw to Worthy, I mean, we're probably in a different situation. So just got to execute in the red zone when you're playing a good defense. And if you make those two throws, we're not relying on the block by Leo.
This game was similar on offense to against the Broncos last year. So what is it about the matchup against them?
Yeah, I mean, they play extremely hard. They're well coached. They do a good job of mixing coverages, and then they make you execute throughout the entire field. I mean, like I just said, like we had chances. You had that. You had the one down the sideline, the Worthy that throw out of bounds. I mean, there's chances, but if you don't hit them, the drives stall out because they continue to play hard. And so you gotta execute and execute on those chances in order to beat a good football team. And we didn't do that today, and we got lucky and found a way to get the win in the end, anyways.
I'm going to give a little bit of credit where I haven't given credit today. Denver is a good football team. Sean Payton is a good coach. And I think Bo Nix right now is a capable quarterback. I was very impressed in his first start at Arrowhead Stadium how efficient Bo Nix was. And Sean Payton has played the Chiefs close a lot in the last 2 years. And I'm excited now for that Week 17 matchup. I'm hoping for the Chiefs' sake they're not playing for anything at that point. They'd have the number 1 seed locked up, but I know for some of our callers that are hopeful for an undefeated record, could come down to that at Mile High here in a couple of weeks. But right now, I think this Denver team is a playoff team. And you may be saying, well, come on now, they're 5-5. You need 4 wins, I think, to get the 7th seed. I think if you're 9-8, that is good enough to get you into the AFC playoff picture. And with that defense, man, the recipe they had today, the game plan they had today, that's good enough to beat somebody on the road, in my opinion. Don't turn the ball over, muddy it up, win the game with your defense. Right now, the Denver Broncos are the second best team in the AFC West. I got them over the Chargers, even though in the standings, they're not over the Chargers. Next thing Patrick Mahomes talked about is the big game coming up on the schedule, and that's next Sunday against the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I mean, it's week to week in this league. I mean, it's I just continue to work on getting better throughout the entire season. We know it's going to be a great challenge this next week. Buffalo's playing great football. They've played great football for a while now, and we understand what it takes to go into an environment like that and have to give everything you have in order to get a win. And we know they'll be fiery and they're going to be trying to beat us. So we're going to have to play better and execute at a higher level in order to win. But I trust our guys are going to get back to work and have a full week of rest and play our best football going into Buffalo.
It'll be a lot of fun, that's for sure. To me, next Sunday is going to decide the number 1 seed in the AFC. If the Chiefs win that game, I think it's all but locked up at that point. You'd have the head-to-head against Baltimore and Buffalo. You'd still be undefeated, and you'd have a lot of favorable matchups right after that Buffalo game. You got the Raiders at home. You got Carolina. You still got the Chargers, that are going to be coming to your place. There's a lot of winnable games on that schedule. And if you take care of Buffalo on the road, huge for team morale, huge for confidence, though this team's riding really high with confidence. But it's a Buffalo team that is playing damn well right now. They beat the Colts by 10 today, had some key turnovers on Joe Flacco, had a pick 6. It was another great showing for them on the road. This Buffalo team is going to be rolling into Sunday with their fangs out. They want to avenge another playoff loss, though they know in the end the only way to slay the dragon or to kill the boogeyman will be to do so in January in the postseason. Patrick Mahomes also talked about Wanya Morris coming back into the game for Kingsley Suamataia.
Yeah, I mean, he's a fighter, man. He's someone that gets in there and he puts it all on the line, and that's what you want on a football team is someone that can fight through injury and play. I was proud of him. He got in there and he did his thing, and that's a good defensive line, good defense, and he did a great job fighting through injury to play some good football.
It's always funny to me every single Sunday who gets picked on from the Chiefs fan base, and there's been more than a few games where Wanya Morris has been the one picked on by the fan base. Because he's an offensive lineman, and when you get flagged or you give up a sack, people are going to pick on you. But today, when Wanya Morris returned to the game, you saw everybody on Twitter saying to get him back in there. Thank God Wanya Morris is back in the game, more so because of how Kingsley Suamataia looked. But it's funny how quickly things can change. And Wanya Morris went from a guy of, we need somebody else out there, to, please God, get him back in the game. But as Patrick Mahomes said, I think he was pretty good on that final drive for the Chiefs offense. Mahomes also talked about those missed touchdowns to Travis Kelce and Xavier Worthy. He missed Travis Kelce, was far more wide open than Xavier Worthy. On the Worthy play, it would have been a tight window, but we've seen Mahomes make that throw before. But here was his thoughts on those 2 misses.
Yeah, I mean, 4th and goal, Coach Reid giving us a chance to get a touchdown, and Trav read it right. He kind of had a read-type play option on that play, and he got the DB to go outside. He slips a little bit, and then Trav just kind of curls it in there, and I give him the ball, and that was kind of my first read. I had a couple other options there, but when your first read's open, man, you just fire it to him.
Sam, Patrick, you referenced those missed touchdowns. Those
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit missed throws, a little bit of me not seeing the coverage exactly the way I should. I mean, I thought on the one to Trav, the linebacker probably should have got a little bit more depth. And so I threw it a little higher than I wanted to, even though he didn't get depth. And so if I can just fire it in there and get him a touchdown there. And then the one to Worthy is a scramble play. And then I just left it high when I kind of was off balance, saw him open and threw it. But I've made those throws before. It's just about going back, executing, and making them next week or whenever that is this season.
I think with the miss to Travis Kelce, that's a little bit tougher to stomach. And by the way, he also talked about the touchdown to Travis Kelce, the one that tied him with Tony Gonzalez. It was a great route, great play call, and loved the guts there on Andy Reid to go for it on fourth down. He did it twice in this game today against the Denver Broncos. But on the miss to Xavier Worthy, the reason I don't hate it is because turnovers were a big issue for the Chiefs early on in the year. Now back-to-back games, Patrick Mahomes has looked efficient, and he's taking care of the football. And I don't think forcing it in there in the first half is the right decision. Not in my mind. Yes, I think when you're really rolling, when you're red hot, you may try to make that throw, and there's probably going to be a few more games this season where Patrick Mahomes tries to make that throw. But in the red zone, I just don't see a need to force it, especially when you're throwing to somebody like Xavier Worthy, who you just haven't been on the same page with over the last few weeks. For Travis Kelce, I'm sorry, Patrick. I can't give an excuse for that one. I don't think he'd want an excuse. That was just a miss where he knows 9 out of 10 times he's making that pass to number 87. And lastly, Patrick Mahomes talked about the celebration this team had after another thrilling victory.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome, man. You live for these moments. I mean, when you grow up playing football, you live for the walk-off, whatever it is. And it's special when you build these guys for so long, and you've built this chemistry with them, and guys get to make that play. It's something that I'm sure Leo will have for the rest of his life. But I'm just glad that we all get to experience it together. Thanks, Patrick.
Another great game for Patrick Mahomes and another win for the Kansas City Chiefs as they moved to 9-0 after a win over the Denver Broncos, headlined by a blocked kick by Leo Chenal, a.k.a. John Cena. Chiefs 9-0 heading into Buffalo next week, a Buffalo team that is right behind them for the quest for the number 1 seed in the AFC playoff picture. We'll take another break. When we come back, we'll hear from Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. He's on deck for the Red and Gold Postgame Show on Sports Radio 810 WHB. choice on that dump-off pass to Kareem Hunt to set up 1st and goal, and the right choice is presented by Choice Solutions, your trusted, locally owned IT partner since 1985, providing IT expertise, services, and solutions to help your business grow. You can also make the right choice today by going to choicesolutions.com. You are locked into the Red and Gold Postgame Show, brought to you by Boda Wine. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Boda, the ultimate tailgate wine. Boda, this is how we Boda. Please drink responsibly. Sponsored by Boda Vineyards, Manteca, California. We are going to have to pivot a little bit. We are not quite ready for Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com, but not to worry. Should be getting to him in the next 15 to 20-ish minutes, hopefully closer to 10 to 15. But right now, we're going to have our locker room report, which is brought to you by Twin Peaks. Couple of players that we're going to hear from that had the chance to talk with a few of our very own. Stephen St. John of A New Day with SSJ. And Sterling Holmes, of course, co-host of The Zone. They both were out at Arrowhead Stadium, did some great work in catching up with some of these players. But our very first one was Stephen St. John with Trent McDuffie of the Chiefs.
Trent, you guys had a slow start, man.
Yeah.
Talk about what made Denver so rough today.
Yeah, I think it was really the little things, certain assignments, what's the coverages, stuff like that, where in that in the first half, things kind of just weren't clicking for us, and you saw second half kind of click back in and started just doing Chiefs defense.
Yeah, did Bo Nix do some things that you guys weren't expecting?
No, Bo Nix did a good job at just managing the game, he made the right reads, receivers made good plays, and it was really just the defense going out there and having to make plays on our own, and made a few good third down stops, but the stops where we didn't, they went down and put points on the board.
Take me through your perspective.
What was Spags' message after the game?
After the game?
Yeah.
Hard-fought win. Definitely a lot of things we got to clean up, but one of those things we can definitely learn from, and we got to just put aside because we got another week we got to play against the Bills. Enjoy the day, but tomorrow and moving forward, we got to really lock in.
Appreciate it.
Take me through your perspective on the field goal block.
Oh, shoot. Well, I was already frustrated because I gave up the first down after third down, and was just on the sideline and watching, and I can say this much. In practice, Jay Reid, Leo, the defense, they practice like they getting blocks. Like, this isn't like something that anybody was surprised that happened. Like, I've seen in practice them go over and over and really take it serious. So, I'm just seeing the fruit of the loom, really.
Were you watching, or did you?
Oh, yeah, I was watching. I had no words, really. Right. I saw the block, and I was just like, I was just standing there. Everybody's rushing the field, and I was just like, I can't believe this happened. Some things just meant to be.
There's a lot of wins.
Like when you guys got back in here after it?
Say my bad.
What was it like when you guys got back in here after winning that way?
Energy was up. You know what I mean? You know it. We got down to 16-14. Defense was about to let them score. So, obviously, a lot of things got cleaned up. But, a win's a win no matter what.
Did you feel like they were celebrating before the game was over a little bit, like they'd already won?
I don't know. I ain't look at them. I ran to my sideline. Just crossed my fingers that we were able to make a play.
How chippy was that game? Rivalry game? Looked like it was very physical?
I got to give it to the Broncos. They always play really hard. You know what I mean? They're well coached, and they go out there and they play to win. And that's what we were expecting. We knew we weren't going to be able to take it lightly. And they came out here and did a good job. So we fought, we battled, and we luckily came out with the win.
Trent, as the field goal's about to happen, would you call it belief? Would you call it hope? What are you feeling as you're watching that play unfold?
I didn't really have too many feelings. You know what I mean? I was over here already frustrated. I let up a first down, and kind of just really like I brought up before. It was nothing new. Like, I've seen them practice this a million times in practice. So, Jay Reid always talking about, we going to get a block. So I was like, Jay Reid, you know what? Maybe this time we get a block. And they went out there and got a block.
Have you ever been part of a walk-off block?
I haven't. That's a first. So that was pretty cool. I got to say the energy was contagious for sure.
How key was it? Third down's always a key down.
Yeah.
When they were in 3rd and 5 and they'd run that short game, the quick slants, get it out quick, they were having a lot of success. When you guys get them 3rd and 6 or longer, they couldn't move, they couldn't get it down against you.
Yeah.
Was that part of the game plan, was keeping those 3rd and long?
Yeah, as a defense, you always want to keep them in the 3rd and longer. You know what I mean? Because once it gets past 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, we feel like as a defense, that's our advantage. So really winning the first, second down is really where you're going to be able to do that. Limiting that run game, limiting those short little passes that get them into those 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4s, because it's a lot easier for the offense to gain 4 yards and 8.
First chance going up against Bo Nix. What did he do that gave you guys some problems?
Yeah, I think he did a good job of just controlling the offense, ran some good plays, checked out a few things, threw some screens. RPO game was good, used his feet a little bit. He's a hell of a player, and we knew that coming in, you know what I mean? We knew that he was able to move this offense efficiently and get down the field and score, and he showed that today. So a lot of things we got to learn from, but great challenge.
Trent, what does it say about this team when maybe you're not playing your best on the day, but you can still go out a win at the end?
Yeah, I think that's just become kind of the theme lately these past 9 weeks is we always find a way. And, I mean, I can't speak for no block field goal, you know what I mean? That's just, wow, that stuff just happens. But definitely things we still got to clean up. We haven't played a lot of good football, and something that I think is exciting because there is so much to learn from, and there is that feeling that we haven't played our best game, that our best game's still to come, and hopefully we just keep stacking. Thank you.
That was Trent McDuffie in a media scrum. You also heard a couple questions there from Stephen St. John of A New Day with SSJ. Also, Sterling Holmes had the chance to be in a media scrum with Wanya Morris, who certainly was one of the more popular players to talk to after the game today.
Why did you go back in?
Coaches called my number, so they needed me at that moment, so that's what I went and did.
Who was it? Was it Coach Hack, Coach Reid? Who came up to you?
Coach Hack told me, asked me if I was ready, if I was good. I said, yeah, I was good.
What was it like before that? You're on the bike. What, were you trying to loosen up? What was going on there?
Just trying to fight through the pain and loosen up, because, I went down earlier. But just continuing to fight and keep that strong mentality saying I got to make it through this game, whether they need me or not. Because you never know what's going to happen. Like today, you never know what's going to happen. So unexpected circumstances.
When you were watching the game, were you wanting to get back in there? Were you, feeling like you needed to be in there?
Yeah, I think every guy on that sideline feel the same way. When you're watching the game, it just brings back memories of what you did before or what you could do better. It brings up all these nostalgic thoughts, and you want to get back out there as soon as possible.
How did you hurt it?
I think somebody just fell into me and it just buckled on me. Yep.
And so Coach came up to you on the sideline and said, "We need you." What did you say to him?
I said, "Okay." It's not much else you say.
How was it battling out there with it? Did you feel it out there?
Yeah, but a divisional game like this, you know that we're going to come out with bumps and bruises. So only thing I'm thinking in my head is tenacity, fight, finish.
I'm sure you were already asked about it, so I apologize, but just your reaction to the final play there.
Oh, man, it was ecstatic. It just makes me proud to be a part of a team like this, All three phases of the game are important, and I think today we've seen that. When offense is not doing what it's doing, when defense is not doing what it's doing, somebody got to pick it up, special teams pick it up, and we just glad to be a part of this team.
Have you ever been part of a walk-off field goal block?
Maybe in high school. But I cannot remember that. I'll tell you that.
Last one. Next one.
Good.
How do you analyze just the overall performance of the O-line?
Man, we went against a pretty good group today. There's obviously things we can go and get better at. But in the ultimate goal, after we watch this film, we're really going to figure out what it is that we need to do better, and that's what we're going to go do.
And that was Wanya Morris after today's 16-14 win over the Denver Broncos. And we still have one more piece of audio to get to here. We're going to hear from Mike Dana, who was involved on that final field goal block. In fact, Leo Chanel gave a lot of credit to Mike Dana on that last play, and he did have a pretty funny answer to when it was brought up that he was the one credited, I believe by ESPN, actually credited him with the block, but a pretty good interview here. And again, our very own Stephen St. John was down there in the media scrum.
How'd it feel to be back out there?
Felt great, man. Felt great, playing all 4 quarters, being out there with the guys, finding a way to win. But, God is great. He granted me to be out there today, and, I'm just thankful, for him and allowing me to be out there.
Take me through your perspective on that block field goal there at the end.
Well, man, I was bummed, because they got to that far side of the field, and we were, in a position where we either needed a block or it was going to be us losing. So, guys rushed their tail off, found a way to win, and, an excellent call by our special teams coach, Coach Tobe, and, whether it was Leo, George, or somebody on that right side made that ball go back, and we found a way.
ESPN originally credited you for the block. I don't know if you saw that.
Sure. Yeah.
Take that to
Hey.
What was the conversation like before that play?
Well, we just kind of kept telling each other it was one more play. We were already discouraged that, we let them down that far to the field, but we knew we had one more play to change the game, and everybody kind of had it in their head that, this is do or die. So, all 11 guys rushed their tails off and found a way, and, once you hear them 2 boom-booms, then it was a block.
Leo made it seem like
you helped him block the extra point in the Super Bowl, and that sort of informed him on how to maybe rush this time. Just what do you remember from that extra point, and how might that serve for today?
It was the same call, so perfect call by Coach. Like I said, guys just rushed their tails off on the right side again, and they came over with a block, But today I was all the way on the left side. I ain't had nothing to do with that. So credit to all them guys on the right side.
I mean, but you're seeing that executed, and you're just like, did you have a feeling in the middle of it? Like, oh yeah, I think I got this one.
Oh yeah, I mean, you got to have hope. You still got to believe. You got to have faith in your guys, and and we're going to play into it, say 0-0, and I'm pretty sure it says 0-4 on there. So we still have 4 seconds to make something happen.
So many games that come down to the last play. It's like you guys expect something like this to happen and expect to win. What's that like when you're in this close game, you're in the fourth quarter, but you feel like something's going to happen, you're going to win somehow?
Yeah, I mean, you just got to stay in tune all 4 quarters. It can be 1 play, 2 plays that can be deciding factors in these games. And, each week these games are closer and closer. And, just staying tuned in and being ready whenever your number is called is the biggest thing because, you can be the next person to make the next big play. So just kind of staying ready.
Well, ESPN says you blocked us, so we're going to go with that. All right, congrats, Dana.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Mike.
And that was Mike Dana after the game. Pretty great there that ESPN had credited him with the block, even though it was Leo Chanel making the block. He's the one that's going viral today, but it leads us back into who Leo Chanel is as a person. Crediting other guys on the line that were able to make it happen, but just a great overall play by the special teams unit who had kind of been put in a bad spot by the kickoff team. Harrison Butker on the short kick put the Broncos at the 40. The defense putting him in a bad spot, but nonetheless, Mike Dana, Leo Chanel, a lot of guys involved there in making that play happen. And actually, our very own Bethany Bowman had asked that question about ESPN crediting Mike Dana with the block there. So he definitely thought that was funny, as did everybody in that little media scrum. But again, that was our locker room report brought to you by Twin Peaks.
The Chiefs Locker Room Report is brought to you by Twin Peaks. No one does football like Twin Peaks. Whatever your preference, they have everything from tequila cocktails and an extensive bourbon category to top shelf spirits and cocktails served over ice balls. Local craft beers and handcrafted whiskey cocktails round out an adventurous drink menu, second to none. And don't forget about their 29-degree man-sized drafts at Twin Peaks.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will have Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest on the line. He's coming up on the Red and Gold Postgame Show on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Give them the Green Light Award, brought to you by Green Light Dispensary, the unofficial sponsor of Kansas City's favorite football team. Look for the Green Light Stadium flyover banners at your favorite games this fall. GreenlightDispensary.com. And if you're just now tuning in, not to worry, we'll have all this podcasted right after the show. Get our thoughts, our reactions from a thrilling 16-14 victory over the Denver Broncos. As for next week, the Chiefs will head off to Orchard Park to take on the Buffalo Bills, who won earlier today by a score of 30-20 over the Indianapolis Colts. Right now, some scores around the league. The Chargers now lead the Tennessee Titans 19-10 with 3:24 to go in the third quarter. Eagles up 14-6 over the Cowboys at halftime. Cardinals up 24-6 on the New York Jets at halftime. We're now going to go back to the phone lines and hear from Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. He's brought to you by Cap One Lending. The Freedom Loan at Cap One Lending is the exclusive loan that helps you pay off your home in less than half the time and gives you access to your home's equity without having to refinance. Go to CapOneLending.com. All right, Matt, want you to be honest with everybody here. When Will Lutz went out there to kick the field goal, did you already have your game recap showing up as a Chiefs loss?
I did not, because I didn't have Leo. But I did publicly say that I thought this was the time for Justin Reid to have another blocked kick. So I'm not saying I predicted it necessarily, and I didn't have the right guy, but it's this team, Jack. I sincerely thought that a block kick was a distinct possibility because this team is just insane.
Well, it's close enough. If you said a block was going to happen on the play, that's more than what a lot of people thought out there after the Broncos had found a way to drive down well inside the red zone and give Will Lutz the spot that he wanted on the right hash. But Leo Chanel's the one that blocks it and keeps the Chiefs' perfect record intact. Matt, you talk about just this team finding a way. And for today, this was probably as bleak as it's ever looked all season long, and the Chiefs finding a way to pull it out. But no, how does this keep happening, and how frustrating is it for other NFL fan bases that already have a loss on their schedule and they're trying to catch the Chiefs, but stuff like this can still happen?
Yeah, and we've been talking about this week in and week out, and I think it just keeps happening, is that the Chiefs seemed vulnerable. Last year, they seemed vulnerable. And if you don't knock off the Chiefs right now, when are you going to? It just seems like, there are some teams that are absolutely missing their shot. They're missing their window. And, and that doesn't mean that, hey, nothing in the regular season matters when January starts. And that's certainly the way that the Chiefs believe. I'm not sure that every team believes it the same way that the Chiefs do. They've got to this point in a very specific way because they just understand Super Bowls are what matters, and nothing else does unless you just have to make it into the tournament. And I get Marty Schottenheimer used to say that, and what happened was the Chiefs would make it into the tournament and bow out in week one, but in game one. But it's different when you got these guys. This team is loaded with some Hall of Fame players, and when you've got that, and you've got, legitimately, Patrick Mahomes, we know about, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, made a mistake today, but Harrison Butker, is a Hall of Fame L-type player. It's just up and down the roster. When you have these guys, that, to me, explains a lot about how they win these games.
We're talking with Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. It wasn't a very pretty day for the offense. However, they didn't turn the ball over. They didn't run the ball as efficiently. But Patrick Mahomes now back-to-back weeks with a pretty good performance. Should there be any concern that the offense looked like it did today? Or can we chalk it up as, hey, at the end of the day, this was a top 3 scoring defense in the Denver Broncos?
Yeah, I think you make a great point there, which is that you have to grade it on a curve a little bit. I think the frustrating thing that if you're a Chiefs fan, you're looking at this and saying, wait a minute, you know what? Denver's having a really nice season. They're playing very well. Are they on the same level as the Chiefs? No, they're not. So should the Broncos come into your place and give you a heck of a time like that? I'm not sure the Broncos are that good yet. They're improving. This was a big game for them. It's the same thing. The Chiefs have that target on their back, so teams are going to give them their best shot. And I think that the Broncos had a great game plan overall for how to handle the Chiefs. But I think that's the frustrating thing is that, you get yourselves into fights with teams and tussles with teams that you just don't feel like are in your same category. And the Chiefs just continue to put themselves in that position. I mean, how long can you do that for? I mean, I don't think you can do that for a 17-game season. That's why going undefeated is so hard. But at the same time, Andy Reid and Brett Veach are looking at this as a marathon. I mean, they're not really worried about what happens in Week 10. They're worried about what this team looks like in the divisional round of the playoffs or the wild card if they had to play it, although right now it looks like it would take a miracle for some type of a team to catch them for the 1 seed. But they're worried about that. So they're more worried about, hey, how are you going to integrate Hollywood Brown back into this when he's healthy, and Juju Smith-Schuster, and get Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt on the field together. I mean, they're more worried about the chemistry and the way this team operates 10 more weeks from now than the way they are right now.
Matt, I know one of the talking points today when looking at the offense was that left tackle position. Wanye Morris goes down with a knee injury. Kingsley Suamataia comes in and just doesn't play that well. Where are you at right now with a guy like Suamataia, who, of course, is incredibly young? He's even young for a rookie, but now in 2 separate situations, going back to Week 2 against Cincinnati where he got destroyed by Trey Hendrickson, and then today, just not having a lot of good reps out there when Wanye Morris was on the sideline. Where are you at in your evaluation for him? Is he just simply not ready, but you're not ready to give up on him? Or is this a spot where you maybe have to think about next year moving him to the right side at right tackle and figuring out left tackle with a different person?
Yeah, and I keep thinking about it some different ways. And I like the way you phrased the question, Jack, because I think a lot of people forget about the fact that, what was Kingsley Suamataia? He was a very late second-round pick. And there's no knock about that. I mean, you can come into the league and play as a second-round pick, but that's what he was. I mean, he could just as easily have been an early third. And I get a lot. There were a lot of draft prognosticators that, thought, wait a minute, this guy could maybe even sneak into the end of the first round. I don't think that was ever really reasonably possible. And that put a lot of pressure on the kid because now people are thinking of him as, well, this is a potential late first-round pick. No, that's not what he is. So you get a lot of pressure on him. And then, like you said, he is young. He hasn't faced maybe always consistently the same kind of competition that Wanye has faced. Wanye has a year on him. Wanye has played with some of the guys that are on this team before. I mean, he's got that connection. So I think it's been definitely easier for Morris to kind of fit in. And, the only frustrating thing, disappointing thing with Kingsley today to me was just that I think the Chiefs hoped to see some progress. They wanted to see that, he showed some improvement and some just steady, at least marginal improvement. And I mean, a lot of people I talk to right now, the consensus is that he looked worse than he did during the first 2 weeks of the season. And that doesn't mean he's a lost cause. I mean, that just means that he's a guy that is I think, probably just still dealing with some, disappointment and frustration with how the season was starting out for him, and is probably pressing a little bit. And that just takes time and good coaching and repetition of your technique. So, I mean, there's still so much talent there. If you're the Chiefs, you definitely aren't giving up on that. You're not walking away from Kingsley Suamataia. But does it mean that you're probably tapping the brakes as far as what your expectations are for this year? Yeah. Does it mean that, you maybe need to look for a swing tackle to help him out, as a backup? Maybe so. Because I think after what we saw today, I don't think it's a real fight over who should be the starting left tackle for this team. I mean, it's Wanye Morris.
Matt, I want to go back to that final possession or that final defensive drive, and I do want to begin, though, with the kickoff. All game long, the Chiefs decide to boot it out of the back of the end zone, not even give Denver a chance to return. So what was the thought process in kind of kicking it short? I mean, that decision probably comes from Dave Toub, and Harrison Butker didn't execute it. But it seemed like with a 2-point lead, the last thing you want to do is risk a big return there, or maybe Denver getting the 30 or 35. But it was really the worst-case scenario of Denver starting at the 40 and then finding their way all the way deep into the red zone and Chiefs territory. So why do you think that was a decision there? Did they try to catch Denver off guard, or was there a different thought process behind it?
Well, I'm going to take Harrison Butker at his word. I talked to him about it after the game, and he said that the plan was to kick the ball through the back of the end zone, and he simply mishit it. I don't know if he's falling on his sword or not, but that was his story. And he said he felt terrible that he just misexecuted it for his team, and he felt like he let everybody down. I didn't hear anybody talking about Harrison letting them down because I think they all know that he's bailed them out plenty of times. So I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll hear a different story from Dave Tobe on Wednesday, but that was at least what Harrison was telling me tonight, was just that he mishit it, and that happens. Obviously Will Lutz is an incredible kicker on the other side too, and you'd think a field goal from that distance for him would be easy to elevate and get up and not get blocked, but both kickers had some miscues in the final 2 minutes of the game.
Matt, last couple of questions for you here. We really appreciate your time. One of the interesting parts that I thought about this game is, even though Denver only had 14 points in this one and less than 300 yards of offense, it just appeared like they moved the ball efficiently. Estime had a couple of decent runs to put Denver in some favorable spots on 2nd and short and 3rd and short. Bo Nix, for the most part, looked efficient. So am I crazy in saying that Denver looked somewhat good, or actually pretty good offensively despite only scoring 14 points, or did they actually look that good and they were able to move the ball somewhat well in the first half and some parts of the second half?
Yeah, I think you make a great point because, Denver did have two very solid drives. I think, one of 75 and one of 80 back-to-back for those touchdowns. That's an efficient offense. And they were, for the most part, making really smart decisions. They had a game plan for trying to take Chris Jones out of the element by just getting rid of the football quickly. And it was helping them at least move the football in small chunks. They didn't make a bunch of chunk plays and big ones, but, they were at least, making these quick throws to the flat and trying to get the ball to some of their playmakers in space and see what happens. Obviously, the Chiefs defense met that challenge. Some guys like Najee Johnson had a great day tackling, 10 tackles, his career high today. Troy Connor, obviously, I think had some great plays in there too. So, they were at least able to, keep the Broncos from making big plays. But, I think that also what really hurt the Broncos, and if you take a look at it, probably a couple of the biggest plays of the game were the long sacks. I mean, you take out the 16-yard sack and the 17-yard sack that Nick Bolton and Najee Johnson had. Well, now the Broncos have over 310 yards of offense. And both of those plays, those are the equivalent of like 15-yard penalties. Mm-hmm. It flipped the field. I mean, one of them probably took them out of maybe a legitimate field goal range. And, another one probably certainly affected just the overall field position. So, those were two big plays. And to your point, the Chiefs didn't make those kind of mistakes. I mean, those weren't turnovers, but those were significant plays. And, I think that will come with experience. Bo Nix just got into a couple of bad spots, and instead of getting rid of the football, tried to run and make a play and did not work. But I think those were two big moments for the Chiefs defense that, there was an opportunity for the Broncos to maybe flip the field, maybe get in, like I said, they could have maybe gotten a field goal on one of those sacks. That would have been deciding the game.
And last question for you here, Matt. Big one in Buffalo coming up next Sunday. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. If the Chiefs win that game to move to 10-0, do they pretty much lock up the 1 seed at that point, or would there still be some wiggle room there for somebody like Baltimore or now Pittsburgh or somebody like Buffalo still to make a push toward the very end?
I mean, you would have, if you're the Chiefs, you have the tiebreaker at that point over Buffalo and Baltimore. So, both those teams would have to see the Chiefs lose several games to get back into it. They'd have to finish the season one game clear. Pittsburgh would be your toughest challenge at that point. And I think that Pittsburgh is a legitimately scary team. I mean, they could maybe end up being a 3 or a 4 loss team. And if that's the case, then that game at Pittsburgh on Christmas Day is going to loom large down the road. I don't feel as comfortable about Houston being able to make much of a run, even though the Chiefs and the Texans play. I think the Chiefs will probably win that game anyway, but the Texans I don't think they have the consistency enough to hang with the best teams in the AFC right now, not quite yet. But if they beat Buffalo next week, I would say that their chances of getting the 1 seed would have to be in the 90-95% range. Not that it can't happen that they would put themselves into maybe falling out of that position, but it was just that everybody else is going to need a lot of help. And if the Chiefs need to lose 3 or 4 games down the stretch, where are those losses coming from if they beat Buffalo? I mean, Pittsburgh is really, at that point, the one that you would be looking at and saying is the toughest. But the rest of the way, I mean, there'd be nothing left on this schedule that really scares me if I'm the Chiefs, if you take out Buffalo next week on the road.
All right, Matt. We'll appreciate your time as always, and we'll talk to you after the Buffalo game next Sunday.
Sounds great, Jack. And you and Dylan both enjoy your evening going home at a ridiculously early time.
You're exactly right. You do the same, Matt.
You too, buddy.
Thanks, man.
There he goes. That's our guy, Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. He is right. It is definitely a nice thing to be getting back on a Sunday night.
Dark outside.
It's dark, but it's not the early morning hours like we had on Monday. So a better night's rest this going around, and you also can sleep better knowing that the Chiefs are still undefeated after a thrilling win over the Denver Broncos today.
Because it ended early enough as well that our heart rate will now go down at around 9:30 instead of 3:30.
Kick back and lay on the couch, watch Sunday Night Football. Should be a fantastic one with the Lions and the Texans, who Matt just brought up as well. So lots of good football still to come. Lots of good football right now still going on around the NFL. We'll take a quick break, come back, and wrap up the Red and Gold postgame show on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Do it. Patrick Mahomes escaping the sack and finding Samaje Perine for a huge gain was our Magic of Mahomes play, which is brought to you by Westlake Ace Hardware. Westlake Commercial, a division of Westlake Ace Hardware, is your local business-to-business supply partner, where our commercial team, dedicated business-to-business website, credit terms, and convenience store locations make it easy. Visit your local Westlake Ace Hardware store or www.westlakehardware.com/commercial today. It was just another game for the Kansas City Chiefs. As crazy as that ending was, and you heard a few players say they've never been a part of a walk-off blocked field goal. I believe that was Trent McDuffie that said so. Wanya Morris said it might have happened in high school, though he doesn't really remember. It caps off a 9th consecutive win for the Chiefs when they're trailing in the second half. 9 wins in a row when the Chiefs are behind on the scoreboard in the second half. This stat also comes from Kyle Collier. He sent this to us in our group chat here. 33rd team on Twitter or X. QBs with the highest winning percentage when trailing at half since 2000. Patrick Mahomes, number 1, 611. Number 2 on that list, Tom Brady, 422. Russell Wilson's 3rd at 406. Romo's 4th at 403. Peyton Manning 5th at 391. Jimmy Garoppolo on this list, 6th, 370. Vince Young, 357. Jake Delhomme, 341, 8th. Aaron Rodgers down 9th, 337. And 3 guys tied for 10th, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Big Ben Roethlisberger at 333. But Patrick Mahomes, number 1 on that list. A winning percentage of 611 when trailing at halftime since 2000. Just ridiculous numbers for number 15. Up next, the Buffalo Bills in Orchard Park, a game that very well may decide the 1 seed. It'll be Chiefs and Bills, 9-0 versus 8-2 at 3:25 on CBS. We'll talk to you next Sunday after that game. You take it easy, Kansas City.